terrified. And let me tell you something. When them drugs hit you, woo! Did my water just break? Go get the nurse. You were made for this. You can do this. Kick the doctor in the face. Something's on my face. It's wet. I don't know what it is, but something's on my face and it's wet. Someone get it. And then all of a sudden, Cassius was born. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ray. Now I've been trying to film this video for some time, but Cassius is being very demanding today, so I guess he's just going to be guest starring in this video for now until we can put him down for a nap. So I wanted to do this video for a while. I actually was really looking forward to doing this. I feel like labor and delivery stories are so important because leading up to my labor, all I did was watch labor and delivery videos. The thought of going into labor is so daunting when you are in your third trimester and you're reaching that point where it could happen at any moment. It's really daunting because you see a lot of videos where girls are like in the labor room screaming and hollering, and then you see some girls in the labor room who have gotten the epidural and are just giving praises. They are laying in the bed just calm and doing their makeup and cracking jokes. One girl was like, she sneezed and her baby came out. So I knew that I was going to get an epidural. There was no questions asked about that, because why put myself through pain when these wonderful drugs are available? I know some women are like, oh, go natural, but why? Like, why? Either, as long as the baby gets here safely, I'm going to do it the easiest way possible. So I kind of focused in on watching videos of girls who had gotten epidurals to try to see what their experiences were like. And I feel like I got kind of duped, because a lot of the videos that I was seeing, like, girls were just like, like they couldn't feel it, and it was just like, oh, the baby's here? Yeah, like, so I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm getting the epidural, I got this. I was induced at 39 weeks. It seems like inductions are a very, very common thing, more and more for a lot of women. When you reach that 39-week period, a lot of doctors want to induce you. I don't know, doctors have different reasons of why they want to do it, but whatever. So I was induced at 39 weeks. I ended up being in the hospital a total of 5 days. Was not expecting that. Before I went to the hospital to be induced, I did a labor and delivery tour, which is something I suggest anybody to do. So any girls out there that are pregnant and leading up to your labor date, I strongly suggest that you do a maternity ward tour. I think every hospital offers them, but you go and you walk around with a nurse and they show you the labor and delivery ward. They show you the room where you're going to deliver. They answer any questions that you may have. Then they show you like the postpartum rooms. They let you know how many visitors you can have. They show you, they can answer any questions as far as like pain management goes. So that really helped me put my mind at ease, because I already knew what it was going to look like going in. I went in to be induced on a Friday. When I first got there, you know, they have you come in and change into the beautiful gown. Then they hooked me up to all these machines that monitor my heart rate, my blood pressure, as well as his heart rate, and hooked me up to my IVs. And I came in, I was only like 2 centimeters dilated. In order to get the ball rolling, they gave me some kind of medication. It was like a very, very tiny pill that they said would, what they call, ripen my cervix, which just means to soften it up, to prepare it to dilate more. It was a different doctor that ended up delivering him, because my doctor was unfortunately out of town on a family emergency. So I ended up having a different doctor who I had never met before, but he was nice. He came in and introduced himself, and then he gave me my first cervical check. Now, I'm going to say this. Good. You ready to burp? Okay, I had to take a pause so I could put the baby down for a nap. So fingers crossed that he stays chill for a little bit. So anyway, the whole thing about getting induced is that you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for you to become fully dilated. You know, you have to be 10 centimeters dilated in order to start pushing to move into active labor. During the time that I was being induced, I had maybe about three or four different nurses. And while you're on these different medications, they come and do cervical checks on you every 3 to 4 hours. So the new doctor that I met, he came in, he introduced himself, he did a cervical check on me. He was pretty gentle. It wasn't too bad. So that was my first cervical check. Then when I got on the medication, after a couple of hours, my nurse came in, did another cervix check on me, and she was pretty gentle. It wasn't too bad, but it's just very uncomfortable, and it's a lot of pressure. And after a while, they do hurt because your body is getting tender from somebody, like, you know, touching you, and it's so invasive. So after so many times of getting cervical checks every couple of hours, your body is just so sore, and it just becomes painful. It moves from being uncomfortable to being painful. And like I said, everybody's strength is different, everybody's level of gentleness is different. So you have different nurses that are taking care of you because they're switching off shifts, and each nurse that you get is doing cervical checks on you every couple of hours. So that is probably, I would say, the worst part of being induced and being in the hospital is people coming in constantly just touching you. Like, you're already going through what you're going through, waiting for your baby to be born, and then you have all these different people doing these invasive checks on you. It was too much for me. It was too much for me. But I wasn't dilating very quickly. So after being on the pill for a couple of hours, they switched me over to Pitocin. Pitocin, they hook you up on an IV for Pitocin, and it's supposed to induce contractions. It's supposed to bring on stronger contractions to make you dilate more. For some reason, one of my nurses kept coming into my room, and you can see on the monitor, there's a monitor where you can see your contractions. So whenever you have contractions, the line like goes up. You know how you see like a heartbeat, the lines shoot up when you're having a contraction. And I was starting to have stronger contractions, and one of my nurses kept coming into my room just to check on me, and she was looking at the monitor, and she's like, "You're fine. You're fine. You're not in pain." And because I guess I was starting to have really strong contractions, and they honestly just felt more like little stomach cramps, like tightening in my stomach, and it wasn't painful to me. It was just like, you know, like you get a period cramp or whatever. So she was like amazed. She just kept saying, "Oh, I see your contractions. They're getting really strong. Are you sure you're okay? What's your pain level at right now?" I'm like, maybe a 5. She's like, "You must have high pain tolerance." So when she said that, I feel like it gave me a false sense of confidence, because she's like, "Oh, you should basically be in so much pain right now," or "Other women are usually in so much pain right now." She didn't say that, but this was what I was getting from it. Like, "Oh, I'm so used to people being in a lot of pain. I'm looking at your contractions. You're not in pain. You must have high pain tolerance." So I was feeling myself. I'm like, well, if this is supposed to be the point of high pain and I'm not in any kind of pain, maybe I can do this. Maybe it won't be so bad. I promise you, for a moment, I even considered like, well, if this is the worst of it, then maybe I don't need the epidural, because up until this point, I hadn't gotten the epidural yet because I wasn't in any pain yet. They basically tell you, like, when your pain level reaches a certain number, ask for your epidural, because it'll take the doctor who administers the epidural time to get to you. It could take 30 to 45 minutes for for him or her to get to you. So when your pain reaches a certain threshold, go ahead and ask for your epidural so that you're not like in excruciating pain and you don't have to wait while being in like intense pain. So I wasn't feeling anything. I was chilling. Like, my man went and got us some Portillo's, cheeseburger, cheese fries. We were watching TV. We were playing dominoes. We were playing Uno. Like, we were playing games. We were just chilling. My mom, I think my mom came to, no, my mom didn't come to visit me until the next day. You all right in there? 1 second. My baby be in there fighting sleep. So anyway, yeah, up until this point, I wasn't in a lot of pain. So that was like all day Friday. I did not sleep much because I couldn't. They come in there and they check on you like so much. It's like when you fall asleep, you wake up and somebody is standing over you like, oh, what's like, so I didn't get much sleep. I laid in the bed because I was hooked up to these machines, and being on Pitocin, you can't have solid food. You can only, you go to being on a liquid diet. So my man went home because we only live like 10 minutes from the hospital, and he made me some bone broth and some iced tea. I was still drinking my raspberry tea while I was in the hospital, and that was pretty much all I could have. I was able to get up out of the bed for a little while and just walk around, and I was able to get on the they do have those yoga balls that you see people bouncing on. They have them there at the hospital for you. So I was able to get up and sit on that and bounce and roll and all of that. And yeah, so that was just my first day. Saturday came, still no baby, still on Pitocin. They ended up taking me off Pitocin sometime like early Saturday morning, kind of like the middle of the night, maybe like 3 a.m. But they wanted to try a different method on me because I wasn't dilating very quickly. They have this catheter that they will place, that they will insert, and it mechanically widens your cervix. So once it reaches like, I think it was like 4 to 5 centimeters dilated, it'll come out on its own. So in the middle of the night, and this is what I'm talking about with people touching you constantly, your body is getting sore. So in the middle of the night, they had this other doctor come in to try to place this catheter. And before she could place the catheter, she needed to do a cervical check. This woman had the boniest, I'm like, she had these bony fingers that just, oh my God. When she did my cervical exam, I literally screamed. Like, my man had to get up out of his bed and come over there and hold my hand because her fingers were so bony and sharp feeling. Oh, I felt like she stabbed me in my cervix when she did that. So she did my cervical exam. She had to do that first, and then she was like, oh, I'm going to place the catheter. But because of what had just happened and it hurt so badly, when she tried to place the catheter, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was in so much, like, it hurt too much that I was just like, I can't. So my nurse was like, okay, well, if you can't take the catheter right now, we'll just we'll go ahead and put you back on Pitocin. And at this point, I was so tender and so sore from having constant cervical exams that I went ahead and just asked for my epidural. And that was only so that I could take getting more cervical exams. It wasn't because I was in pain from the contractions. It was from the pain of getting cervical exams that I was like, let me get an epidural now so I can be numb so that I can tolerate more cervical exams. And that was not at all what I wanted to do, but whatever. So I was like, just go ahead and give me the epidural. Getting the epidural, the night before I went to the hospital to get induced, one of my man's friends was over our house hanging out, and he was talking about when his wife went into labor and how big the epidural needle was and how he saw tears come out of her eyes when she got her epidural because it was so painful. And I didn't appreciate that because I'm already, like, you already nervous about going into labor. So why would you say something like that to me to like terrify me, right? So when that doctor came in to give me the epidural, I was terrified. I was. And in my mind, I'm like, whatever you do, Ray, just don't look at the needle. Don't look back. Don't look at that tray that he has, because they come with a tray of whatever they need to give you the epidural. Like, just don't look, just breathe, just face forward, think about something else, right? This doctor that placed my epidural was excellent. Like, if I could pocket this man and take him with me to my next birth, I would just specifically ask for him, because I literally felt nothing when he placed my epidural line. He took the whatever that solution is that they use to clean the area before they stick you. So he cleaned the area, and then he numbed me up with lidocaine. Even that wasn't painful. So he was like, he was talking to me throughout the whole thing. He was an old guy. He was so sweet. He was like, I'm gonna numb you up. He said, I promise you won't feel a thing. When he said that to me, I'm like, I can tell you know what you're doing. He numbed me up with the lidocaine. And while he was placing the line, he said, if you feel anything, tell me. So it was a couple of times I could feel like pressure, not pain, just the pressure of something happening back there. And he'd be like, do you feel this? And I'd say, yes. He said, okay. Then he'll add some more lidocaine. He placed my epidural line within 5 minutes. 5 minutes. He was excellent. He was in and out. Placed that line. He said, okay, mama, have a good night. Left. The nurse that night was like, he's new to our hospital, but he is excellent. Usually it takes 20 to 30 minutes for an epidural line to be placed, but he placed my line within like 5 minutes. And let me tell you something. When them drugs hit you, woo! I tell you, I could not feel anything from my stomach down. I couldn't feel anything. It was like, even my belly was numb. Like, I could touch my stomach. Like, you know it's there, but you can't feel anything. Not only that, it gave me like a high. I was sitting up in the bed playing a game with my man. We were playing dominoes or something, and the nurse came in to check on me. And when I tell you, I was so lifted. I felt like I had taken the best edible I've ever taken in my life. She was looking at me, and I was just like, hey girl. She was like, how are you feeling, mama? I'm like, these drugs, awesome. She was cracking up. Like, I was so high, y'all, off of the epidural. I'm like, 10 out of 10 recommend. Could you bottle this up and send me home with some of this? Like, it was wonderful. All my cervical exams after getting my epidural, I could not feel them. It was perfectly fine because I was completely numb. So that was Saturday. Saturday, I spent the whole rest of the day hooked up to my epidural, just getting cervical exams, doing the Pitocin. Once the epidural had kicked in, they went ahead and revisited the catheter. So they put the catheter in. And in the middle of the night leading into Sunday, my nurse came in to do my check again and check on the catheter. And when she did, it fell out. So once you reach that 4 to 5 centimeter mark, the catheter falls out by itself. And when it came out, my water broke, and it was just like gush. And me and the nurse looked at each other, and I was like, did my water just break? She was like, yes. When I tell you, me and her celebrated. Like, my nurse was that nurse that I had that had stuck with me for 2 nights. She was there when he was born. Me and her, we like, you know. So me and her celebrated because that waiting period of you're not dilated, you're only 2 centimeters. It takes such a toll on you mentally because all you want is to get the labor over with. You just want your baby to be here. So I had already been in the hospital for 2 days, not making any progress. And then when that catheter fell out and my water broke, like, I could have cried. I instantly text my mom, like, water broke, we're getting close. So once your water breaks, it's just like it's kind of like a 24-hour whatever. It could happen at any moment. Everything kind of speeds up from there. So after my water broke, we all celebrated. We're happy. Like, I'm still feeling good on the epidural, but at some point on Sunday, it was like everything just went downhill. these contractions that I was having that I wasn't feeling all of a sudden turned into something completely different. My nurse described it as feeling like you have a bowling ball in your butt. And that is exactly what it is. The best way I can tell you is, like, you know, if you have to go to the bathroom, right? You feel the pressure of, like, you gotta go to the bathroom. Just picture your poop being the size of a human, and it feels like a rock is in your butt, like a huge rock is in your butt, and it's pressing down to get out. That is exactly what that felt like, and it hurt. It hurt, and it kept coming in waves and waves, and the pressure was making my whole body shake. So my man was sitting next to me holding my hand, but every time that wave would come and that pressure on your butt comes, it was making me shake, like shiver. And I was, at this point, I just started to, like, not scream, but like kind of loud moans because it was hurting. So the nurse came in to check me again, and she was like, you're 8 centimeters dilated. Like, we're almost there. We're almost there. So she was like, you can't push yet because you have to be fully dilated to push. I said, okay. Baby, listen, about maybe like 20-30 minutes after that, I was on my side holding on to the bed because that pressure was, oh, I looked at my man and I was like, I have to push. I have to push. Go get the nurse. This man tried to argue with me. No, babe, but she said, go get the nurse. I'm about to get slapped. Don't say nothing to me. Just go get the nurse. Nurse came in. I'm like, I have to push. I have to push. Okay. Let's push. Let's push then. They raise you up on the bed and they have you grab your legs, grab the back of your thighs, and just take a deep breath and push. And when you push, it's like you're pushing like you have to poop. So that's the pressure that you want. You want to push. So you push, and she count 10 seconds. You do 3 pushes every contraction. You're going to do 3 pushes for 10 seconds. And at this point, I hadn't realized that my epidural had ran out, which is why I was feeling everything at this point. I went from being high to, oh my God, what is happening right now? And at this point, it's too late to get a refill. You gotta soldier through it. So I ended up really having a natural labor because I felt everything. So I'm pushing. And then she says, oh, I see the baby's head. He has a full head of hair. And at this point, I'm not in excruciating pain. I'm still kind of like, I can deal with what's happening. Like, it's not super painful. It's just pressure. So when she says that, I look at my man. We're laughing like, oh, he has hair. I bet he does have hair. Like, look at my hair. Look at his, because he has locks too. So we're kind of cracking jokes while this is all going on. I'm pushing. We get to a certain point, and she's like, okay, the doctor is about to come in. I promise you, everything was fine with me pushing until the doctor came in. When the doctor came in, it was like all of a sudden this became a whole movie theater. We went from just me and my man and one nurse to me, my man, my nurse, the doctor, and about 6 other nurses. Maybe it was more than that. It was a room full of people all of a sudden. Bright lights came on. The bed was raised where I'm like up on a platform. They pull out the stirrups things to put your legs up. Like, it went from being intimate to like, this is a show. This is like action. This is when everything, I was just like, the doctor started trying to help me help deliver the baby. He was doing something down there, like going around in a circle to try to like go around the baby's head to like help me not tear. And then at some point I felt an instrument where he like hooked the bottom to pull the hole wider. When he did that, oh my God, oh, I screamed. I was like, what is that? What is that? Because I can feel everything. But mind you, the whole time I'm pushing, in my mind, I'm coaching myself. Like, I'm literally speaking to myself. I'm saying to myself, you were made for this. You can do this. You can do this. This is not hard. You have to do this. Just think, the baby's gonna be here. I wanna see my son. Like, I was just thinking in my head to try to like keep me focused on just seeing my baby, just the end result, to keep my mind off of anything else that was happening. But past a certain point, whatever the hell my doctor was doing down there was making the situation worse. He was trying to widen the hole for the baby to come out and to help me not tear. That was probably the most pain I have ever felt in my life. I ended up screaming to the top of my lungs because I just felt like, and again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, I'm sorry. My epidural had ran out, okay, so I could feel everything. I felt like I was being ripped apart. I'm not kidding, and I'm so sorry if that scares anybody, but I felt like I was being ripped apart. I felt a moment of pain like I've never felt before, and I screamed to the top of my lungs, and all I could do, I lifted up off the bed like I was in The Exorcist. I just lifted up off the bed and I yeeted, like I kicked my foot forward, kicked the doctor in the face. I grabbed my nurse who was on this side and dug my nails into her side. I dug my nails into my man's side who was on over here, and I kicked the doctor in the face, and I screamed really loud, and then all of a sudden, Cassius was born. He just shot out. He just shot out, and he was laying on my stomach, and I was like, and I remember the doctor was like down here like this, and he was like, something's on my face, it's wet. I don't know what it is, but something's on my face and it's wet. Someone get it. All I could do was just like apologize a million times to the doctor. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I kicked you in the face. I'm so sorry I kicked you in the face. And I looked at my nurse because I was like, the way I grabbed her, I definitely drew blood. I had to have drawn blood. So I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, girl, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt you? Did I hurt you? She was so sweet. She was like, no, this is what I'm here for. I'm used to this. I've been bit before. This is not the worst I've ever. She was like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. But that doctor, I kicked him in the face. I felt so bad because he had glasses on too. So, yeah. Cassius was born at 3:01 p.m. on Sunday. And the moment he was born, all the nurses were just like, oh my God, he is so beautiful. His eyes were instantly open. Like, you always hear about like babies, their eyes are closed for a while. Not Cassius. Cassius' eyes were wide open. He was so alert. He was grabbing the towel where they were trying to clean him off. He was grabbing the stethoscope where they were trying to listen to his chest. Like, he was fully alert. And while I was laying in the bed, they took him over to the infant bed where they're cleaning him and checking him. And all I could do was just look over at him. And those big old eyes were just looking everywhere. And I'm just like, I'm a mom. I am a mom. We did it. My man stayed by my bedside. They asked, they like, Daddy, you want to come over and see? And he's like, no, I'll wait. We'll see him together. You know, he's like, I got to take care of my baby first, which is me. It was beautiful. My mom was waiting in the family room at this point. So once they cleaned him up and cleaned me up, they told her that she could come in and see the baby. So it was such a beautiful moment. After this whole show happens and I have Cassius, everything's calmed down, everything's cleaned up, people have left the room. My mom got a chance to be with the baby for a little while and then she left. They were kind of concerned because my blood pressure was kind of all over the place at this point. And to me, to me, I just felt like my blood pressure was probably all over the place because I had been on all these medications up until this point. I hadn't eaten anything. I just had like liquids, and I just went through something like truly traumatic. So I was like, maybe that's why my blood pressure is all over the place. But they have to be careful when it comes to blood pressure because they're watching you for preeclampsia. So they wanted to do a test for preeclampsia, which is supposed to be 4 blood tests plus a urine sample. Now, because I just had vaginal birth, I can't give a urine sample the traditional way because it's too much mixed in that'll mess with the test. So they're like, we need to place a catheter in order to get the urine. Now, I just gave vaginal birth. I don't want nothing touching anything down here. I did not tear, thank God I did not tear, but I had abrasions down there. So I'm sore, I'm tender, all of that, don't touch. So she's just like, this is going to be painful. This is my nurse talking, this is going to be painful, but I need to place this catheter. This is one of the reasons I had to take some time to do this video, because I had to get over some of the trauma that I experienced from this childbirth. She took a sponge and tried to clean the area, and when she hit me with that sponge, when I tell you it was worse than the childbirth, that pain that I felt, I instantly screamed at the top of my lungs. And then she tried to place the catheter. I couldn't do it. I was literally screaming. I was screaming and I was crying, and I told her, no, I will not do this. I'm refusing. I can't take it. So they ended up just having to go with the blood test, and of course, no preeclampsia. But them trying to place a catheter after I had just given vaginal birth was absolutely insane to me. And when I ended up getting to my postpartum floor and telling my nurse up there what happened, she was like, I don't know why they would try to do that, because that is literally like torturing somebody. So yeah, we ended up being in the hospital for 5 days. So I was there Friday, and then he was born on Sunday, and then they kept us for 2.5 days, and then we went home on Tuesday. So yeah, that was my whole labor experience. Once we got to the postpartum floor Sunday night, which is where you recover and you spend time with the baby, and they have a huge bed where me and my man can sleep in the same bed. We all can sleep in the same bed. It's a huge bed. He went and got me a whole sushi feast. Delicious. I've been waiting for that. I got my traditional sushi meal that women get when after you have the baby. You've been waiting so long to have some sushi. So he went and got that for me, and we just chilled and hung out with the baby. And you know, I got to spend some time with a lactation nurse to help me with breastfeeding and all of that stuff. I'm gonna tell you girls some things that I would do differently if I have another child. One, the cervical exams. You do have a right to say no. I know it feels, especially if you're a first-time mom, if you feel like you should just follow every single direction, every single request from the doctor or the nurses, but you have a right to say no. Like, you have to listen to your body. I would never consent to having that many people touching me and that many cervical exams. No, for me, I just don't feel like it's necessary. Your body knows what it's doing. Like, when I moved into that active labor, and if you get that bowling ball in the butt feeling, I knew when it was time for me to push. Your body knows what it's doing. I don't feel like constant cervical exams every 3 hours by several different people is necessary, because if I didn't do that, I would have never asked for my epidural as early as I did. I didn't want to get an epidural until I had moved into active labor. But because I had to have all these cervical exams, I asked for it way too early. And when it came time to actually have the baby, my epidural was out. So I had to soldier through a painful labor that was not part of my birthing plan. I wanted to be high in the clouds when it came time for me to push. But unfortunately, when it came time for me to push, my man looked up at the epidural bag and was like, oh, babe, I think it's out. Like, so I would never consent to having that many cervical exams by that many different people. Another thing I'm gonna tell you all, this is just for me. I would put my phone on do not disturb in the future, or just hand my phone to my partner, because people, especially if it's someone that never had children before, will blow your phone up. And getting texts constantly of where's the baby, is the baby here, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, from people outside of that hospital room is not only annoying, it's like, it's kind of inconsiderate, because I'm going through having to be touched by all these different people, being hooked up to these machines, stuck in a hospital bed, going through painful pressure, contractions, just anticipating the baby being there, trying to stay in my right mind, trying to be at peace. Like, you've experienced so many different emotions going through the labor process, and to have somebody constantly blowing your phone up, being like, where is the baby? I wanted to I was about to lose some friendships that day, but I stayed nice and peaceful, because you understand, like, people are excited about the baby and they're just concerned about you, and they love you and they want to see what's going on. So I get that, but in the moment it doesn't feel good at all. So I would say, if you feel like me, put your phone on do not disturb, because it'll help you get like a better peace of mind. The labor experience that I had, immediately afterwards, I told my man, I was like, I don't know if I would do this again, but you know what? I would definitely do it again. My aunt said something to me that is so true, that labor pain is the easiest pain to forget. And that is so true, because I'm officially 1 month postpartum, and I'm like, yeah, I would definitely do it again. It was worth it. I learned some lessons that I would take with me into the next labor, like those cervical exams. It's hell no for me. It's like life is a classroom. So I've definitely learned some things that I feel like would make my next experience better. But all in all, I mean, I am so grateful. We know there are so many women that do not come out of this situation the same, or don't even come out at all. So I thank God for a safe delivery, for a healthy, beautiful baby. I'm grateful for the nurses that took care of me, for the doctor that delivered our baby. And yeah, so if there's any questions that you all have that I can answer, anything specific that you want to know about the labor process, about being in the hospital, anything, just comment below and I will be sure to get to you and answer those questions. But that is my labor and delivery story. I'm going to come back next week and give you my postpartum story, because that definitely, we need to talk about postpartum. We need to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Can't focus on